Segment 3, Gold and Black Live. Rapheal Davis joins us. Ray, Purdue fans know, Big Ten Network, but also 2015 Defensive Player of the Year. Good time to talk Purdue hoops, and he'll be doing that tonight on the BTN as well. It's funny, Ray, in terms of November basketball. I mean, it was that way when you played too, but it's become just all these tournaments and the Big Ten ACC. It's almost the second season of college basketball, just because it's almost like you have a lull in December and January and February. That's not really true, but it kind of seems that way. Do you get that impression as well?
Yeah, it's similar. It's like a preseason in the sense.
Yeah.
You get out, you get to play good competition. It's something everyone that wants to play college basketball grew up watching Feast Week.
Yeah.
And grew up watching, back when it was 24 hours straight of just games and whatnot. So it's just something you always kind of, I guess I never thought about in the aspect, but something you look forward to as a player. It's also the time too, because when I played, we weren't playing Big Ten games early December anyway.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our the stretch where we knew it would be really competitive. Some of those games you're supposed to win. If you lose, you lose, but you're supposed to win. But when you play that type of competition, it really kind of lets you know where you are. It lets you know if what you're doing is real or if it's fake.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good time of the year for me, I always like to say.
All right, your alma mater, real or fake? And I don't think it's fake. I mean, it's been really pretty impressive. I mean, the wins, the whole wins in Portland, but also really a hard-fought game Wednesday night. You've been through some of those in your playing career. Those are tough ones to play. But what are you seeing from Purdue?
Maturity from a young team, which is impressive. Their ability to stay with it, and that's kind of what I mean by the maturity. The ability to trust what they're doing. And sometimes, even though some Purdue teams, if it's not working the Purdue way, you just try to do it your own way.
Yeah.
I remember when I played, it was a bunch of, if we're going to lose my way. We're not going to lose y'all. And I think Paint is at the point where he got a bunch of guys that's bought in to doing it the Purdue way. And this is one of because even if you go back and look at it, even the other great teams at Purdue under Paint, it was they still had guys that would do it their way in a little bit sense. It was still guys that kind of had some spunk about them that was going to do it their way. But with this team, everyone's kind of bought in, and the young guys have followed suit. I think this may be one of the best leadership groups I would say you would see. And I don't know if it's being spoke about, but to have a summer where a lot of the guys are hurt. I mean, Braden didn't really do much. Some of the freshmen were hurt. William ended up getting hurt. But then to have two freshmen ready by November, ready to go and start and be productive and beat two blue bloods. I mean, it's that just speaks to the locker room and to Mason Gillis, Ethan Morton, Zach Edey. Like being around those guys all summer is what showed those two young guys how to play hard and how to be a Purdue player. So I've noticed that, and also the commitment to defending, which was why I thought this team would be better than last year's. Because with Purdue, it's not necessarily about talent. Yeah. And I think last year it got to a point where it's about talent. Purdue fans start to fall into this talent thing where you look at Purdue's best team in the last 10 years. I'll say 10 years. It wasn't the most talented team. I mean, you look at Carson, Grady was started as a walk-on.
Yeah.
Matt Harms, I mean, wasn't an offensive threat. So, I mean, you had Ryan Klein, who Purdue that was his school all the way through. So it wasn't like he was a McDonald's All-American or anything. So those teams at Purdue that just commit to playing the Purdue way, and Paint's pretty smart, and then just play hard, and then they commit to defending, because this year's team, and I say this all the time now, but this year's team was the backups last year. Yeah. So they learned how to play hard because to get on the floor, they had to play. And last year's team, they didn't necessarily, they got to pick and choose a little bit. When you're going to play 30, 35 minutes a game, or you're going to split 20 minutes a game, you're not that intrigued sometimes.
Yeah, it's an excellent way of looking at it. And I think it's a huge factor on that. It has impressed me. I mean, Mason Gillis, nobody plays harder than Mason Gillis, and he does it to, you could talk about that mindset as a player, though. And it's really, and Trey Kaufman-Renn is another good example of a guy that in most schools, would be a 13-7 guy maybe, or whatever, and play 23 minutes. And he may play 9, he may play 20. Talk about that mindset as a player, what that's like.
Like I did the best way to and I didn't cut you off, but the best way to sum it up was after that Duke game, if you rewatch the film, and Caleb had a monstrous game. Caleb was balling. And Caleb is actually, if you look at the roster, he's a backup 5.
Yeah.
But he finished that game out as the 4. He was the 4 man on the floor. First person to greet Caleb first off the court was Mason Gillis.
Yeah.
First person. Caleb come off, Mason greets him, pushes him in the chest. He's so excited for him. That's the type of leadership you got to have. And that's why it's easy for these guys to come in the game and make an impact, because they know their teammates are rooting for them. This is Mason is an upperclassman. I've been on a team at Purdue where an upperclassman was on the bench in crunch time, and a younger guy was out there having a positive impact. That guy's not happy for him, because that guy may have seen his spot just go before his eyes. That guy is salty because he's not in the game. But this Purdue team is different in that way. You look at, believe the Marquette game, Brian Waddell finishes the game.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's 1 through 10 is a time where now the depth. Last year is everyone was the depth, but the depth wasn't productive. This year's depth is productive, and you could finish a game with Matt Waddell. You could finish a game with Caleb First, Mason Gillis. This is so many different ways you could finish it, which it doesn't allow for a team to necessarily find a game plan for you. Yeah. And then you look at the guys like you just said, I mean, Mason Gillis, I mean, Caleb First would start across the league. Trey Kaufman-Renn would start across the league. Newman would start across the league. I mean, Newman would start at Michigan right now. So, I mean, the thing where, and these guys have learned how, and Payne is really good at to believe in things, but they've learned that, and they believe in it, and they're like, Payne's done a great job recruiting that. I get these 10, 15 minutes, it could turn into 20 if I just play hard. And that was something I learned over my time at Purdue. If you just go out there and you play hard, Payne not going to take you out. As long as you're not screwing up on offense, you're just not screwing up. If you just playing hard on defense, busting your butt, and you moving the ball on offense, you'll play a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because, again, in a very not near the depth that you bring to your analysis, but as a fan might think, oh, wait, he's got to cut his bench. He's not going to cut his bench unless he'll cut his bench if guys quit being productive. I mean, Brandon Newman was the example last year. Love Brandon Newman, but he wasn't productive.
I mean, I was an example. Yeah, I was an example of that. I was cut, but I was playing non-conference, and my freshman year didn't play whatever. So, and Brandon is a guy that, one, Brandon knows that, but also last year, Ethan Morton saw that. He saw himself not playing early, and then you get to the NC State game, C. Brian is going off. Ethan steps up into that defensive role, and now Ethan is never looked back. So I think you have that type of track record with Payne, which allows the guys to, it's not lip service. Where you're a guy on the bench, it's not lip service that coach is saying, practice hard, you'll play. It's really, it's really lived by that at Purdue.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting story. Now, think about what you look at the Big Ten, and obviously that's your day job in terms of looking at the evaluating what this league is. Nebraska gets a little bit, Purdue's can play Nebraska in game 2, Minnesota in game 1 of conference play. But just talk about maybe about those two teams, but also just the balance of the league. Is it balanced? And some of the real threats that are going to be out there. Obviously, everybody talks about Indiana and Michigan State, though the Spartans have struggled. But tell me what you see from what you've seen in November.
Yeah, I had to start Minnesota. Just because that's the opener.
Yeah.
But, Jamison Battle is one of the better scorers in the league. He just come back from a foot injury though, so he's still getting his legs under him. So he's not in the greatest game shape yet. Struggled in his last game, so I'm sure he really got in the gym and got some shots up. So he'll be hungry. He can put up 20, 25 on you in the quickness. Darson Garcia, it'd be interesting to see that matchup because he's a big, but he likes to shoot a lot of jump shots.
Yeah.
And I know, like you saw against Austin P, Zach jumping at pump fakes. Elijah Hutchinson was eating him up as far as in that mid-post area because he could shoot the ball a little bit. So that'll be interesting. But I think if you look at Nebraska, Derek Walker is back now. He gives a sense of stability to their offense. Griesel is a big point guard. A
Yeah.
big point guard can attack the basket and do different things. Keisei Tominaga just went off for 23 points,
Yeah.
7-8 from field. So he's a shooter, but I strongly believe Purdue can really get to the new year undefeated. They just take care of business. I think there's no one that can guard Zach Edey. He's such a mismatch nightmare where if you send 4 or 5 3 or 4 at him, which teams have done, Purdue's just missing shots sometimes. Like for a state game, first 5 minutes, it's just missed shots. Like they committed to doubling, tripling Zach and beat us from the outside, and Purdue couldn't. And the only reason they struggled, it wasn't the missing shots, but it was the 8 turnovers that went with the missing shots. So it just piled on each other. But that second half, they still don't shoot the ball great, but you only have 3 turnovers. Yeah. And that's the difference in the game. I think Purdue will out-rebound a lot of teams by 14, 15. I think they will dominate the paint because it's a team where they'll be plus 20 in the paint, still make a few threes. So, but across the league, I mean, Indiana, I would put Indiana, Purdue, Iowa, kind of in that Illinois squeeze in there, and that kind of first 4 in a sense. I think Purdue, Indiana leading the way, Iowa right there. Those 3 are my favorites, I would say, as far as competing for the championship. Illinois, I know a lot of people are high on them. I think they could be a good team. I just think offensively they'll struggle. They shot 30. I know Syracuse plays a zone, but it's not the greatest Syracuse's zone over the last 40 years. And you shoot 39 threes. Terrence Shannon shoots 15 of them. So, and Terrence Shannon, once you get into the Big Ten, the scouting's a little different. And he's tending to be right now either a drive all the way or catch and shoot guy. And we'll see how that goes. I don't know if Coleman Hawkins, I like Coleman Hawkins in this game. What he's doing right now, just had triple-double, but I'm very curious to see how many 10-plus rebound games he gets in the Big Ten. And you're facing real big men, real 5 men, and that could hurt them as well with Dane Danger coming off the bench. And then they don't have an easy 2 right now. Like Purdue, you throw the ball in Zach Edey. Indiana, you got Trey Jackson Davis or Hood Shafino can get you a bucket. I mean, even Iowa, Chris Murray can get you one. Patrick McCaffrey can get you one. But with Illinois, just a lot of catch and shoot threes trying to create for each other instead of creating for themselves. But I mean, 21 assists on 24 field goals in the last game. So it was working for them. But I would say Penn State is creeping in there. They can really shoot the ball. They got 2 guys that scored over 1,700 points in their career, which is crazy. You just give it to one of them, they're going to get a bucket. Pickett is probably the best guard in the league. Most likely, he's probably the best point guard in the league. And then I just worry about their inside because, I mean, you look at their ACC challenge game, they should have won that game. If they had just 2 points from their big man, they didn't have any production from their post player, inside presence. They had 3 guards go and get 20. Andrew Funk, I think, had 14 or 15. And then their center and their backup center, I think, combined for 0 and 1. So that's going to be important. If John Harrell was on this Penn State
they'd be really good.
They'd be really good. I think Maryland has surprised a lot of people. But Maryland is Maryland was talented. I just don't think they were pushed in a sense or forced. And they had 2 guards last year that were real ball dominant. So like Hakeem Hart, Julian Reese, Dante Scott, the 3 catalysts now, they didn't have the ball in their hands a lot last year. Dante Scott lost 25 pounds. We'll see those guys against Illinois. That'd be a great matchup. Now, the Maryland situation this year is I want to see if that's real. What they're doing right or is that Minnesota non-conference last year? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you look at Purdue, we came in last place in the Big Ten, but we won our ACC challenge when I was there. So, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I want to know if it's fool's gold, and we'll find that out tonight. But the league is way better than it was expected. I don't understand why people were so down on the league. It just didn't make any sense to me. I was really upset at that at the network. But like Wisconsin is always going to be Wisconsin. They're going to you see they a rebound away from beating Kansas because Wisconsin, no matter who they have on the roster, they're not going to turn the ball over. They're not going to take bad shots. They're not going to press up on offense. They're going to allow you or force you to make in your head, think you're open to get you guys to shoot as many jump shots as y'all want. And if you beat us, you beat us, but you're going to beat us our way. We're not going to lose your way. So Wisconsin is always going to be Wisconsin. You just got Ohio State with the Bruce Thornton. It's going to be a dog at Ohio State. Him and Braden Smith, that 4-year matchup will be extremely fun. And since the ball is one of the better freshmen in the league, I just think they're young right now. And I think by January they'll be flourishing. And then Michigan, my bad, I'm being belaboring a point, but Michigan is Michigan, their guard play just isn't up to par what it's used to normally being. Kobe Buffkin is taking steps. I just think it's taking a little longer. And then Jalen Llewellyn, I played with a transfer guard, John Noctius. It takes a while. It takes a while for them to get comfortable on the court. It takes a while from like John's from Miami and he was in Indiana and his Mustang broke down. And it's like things you go through off the court in a new situation that can really get to you. So like I understand kind of a little bit what Jalen Llewellyn's going through, but he had a great first half against Virginia, knocked down some shots. But then that second half, he just doesn't shoot the ball at all. 0 shot attempts. And then Hunter Dickinson goes 7 for 10 in the first half, 2 for 7 in the second half. And I think he's better than what Virginia's defense was on him. I think he's better. I think sometimes Michigan goes away from him when they shouldn't. So it'd be interesting to see. Michigan State has to get healthy. They could be right there. Jay Nakes, Malik Hall, when they're healthy, obviously, you see what happens when they're full strength. So it's I think by January, February, the league will be full throttle. A lot of teams will be ranked.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue is going to be in the mix, I think, but it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. All right, I want to get a little bit of update on your Crew Life Foundation, all the work that you're doing, which is fantastic. Tell us about what's new in the last month or 6 weeks since we've talked.
We are having our basketball camp, our Christmas break basketball camp here in a couple of weeks. We already have over 100 kids signed up. This is the Rapheal Davis Christmas break camp, and this is something I do every year. We do it with Crew Life now, and it's all free. The kids get t-shirts, lunch, pictures. We have a few council women actually coming in to speak with the kids from that district. So that'll be fun.
And this is in Fort Wayne, just to be clear, right?
Fort Wayne, and this will be it's likely at Southside High School. My high school I went to. We're doing it at my elementary school, but maybe just too many kids. So it was 2 days and the whole camp filled up. So it was that's great to see. And then we're going to PFW up in Fort Wayne this month for a game, and then some of our younger athletes are going to be able to scrimmage at halftime. We're going to be able to have a booth and do different things there. We're bringing a bunch up. We're bringing a couple of the kids, well, same normal group, amount of kids up to Purdue over Christmas break to watch a basketball game, to stay on campus. I'm calling the FAMU game at the end of the month. So the goal is to have them come up with me. Obviously, we get an Airbnb. We kind of go through the same spiel, just be a different group of kids. Because now the group we took to Purdue this fall, they're high schoolers now, 8th graders. So now we're taking our younger group up so they can see practice, kind of see what I kind of get the basketball side of it, but also see what I do and kind of how I go about it, but then also get to kind of be away on Christmas break, take a little trip or whatnot. So we have that coming up. And then we're also we're going to take a different group of kids that are interested in more of like the media side and the behind the scenes side. And we're going to try and bring them over to Chicago for a Big Ten Network studio tour.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
See, because sometimes you don't even, like, even if you aren't that athletic, but you just love cameras, you can be a cameraman. I mean, we're in the studio, and the cameraman, we're in the studios with the cameraman. They're talking basketball with us. They're chilling. They're hanging out. So it's like, you don't have to be the guy in front of the camera. It's just a lot of, you can be the producer. It's just a lot of different roles you can do within basketball outside of it. So that's definitely something coming up as well. And then also we have our grade checks that just kind of came across with the report cards coming out, and all of our kids are doing well academically and going to class and going to school. We put more of an emphasis on going, attendance sometimes than grades. It makes it, because sometimes life is just showing up. And that's kind of what we've been putting across. But it's been going really well, really, really well. We're building our new website, crewlifefoundation.com, putting that together, and I'm just excited for the future.
Ray Davis is the Martin Luther King of Purdue sports. And I mean, you are, and I know that's a lot to throw on you and probably not fair, but I just love what you're doing, and you're making a huge difference in those kids' lives, and through the holidays to have that opportunity for them. And like you said, the most important thing you said about that, in my view, is they're not all going to be in the NBA.
Right.
and they got to learn to, hey, there's jobs in sports, there's jobs out there if you can just want to be part. And
I was
and
looking,
show
like
it.
I was looking at the numbers actually this morning, honestly, of my high school, and 73% of Southside is financially disadvantaged.
Right.
The graduation rate is 10% lower than the state average. 82% minority. And a lot of it sometimes it's just having an opportunity to see stuff that you could want to do in the future. And sometimes I was in a class at Southside a couple of weeks. I was the principal for a day. And
Yeah.
I was there for the day. And I asked a student, what do you want to be when you're 25? Where do you see yourself? And there's a senior. And they
Yeah.
could not think that far because they didn't
Yeah.
even know what that looked like, because
Yeah.
they didn't know a successful 25-year-old. So to be able to show kids that and open their eyes, it just gives them something to strive for sometimes. So it's been real cool, especially now since our sixth graders that we started with are freshmen. And now
Yeah.
they're coming into their own, and now they're able to, like at this last Black Friday, we just had a Black Friday camp, over
Yeah.
60 kids, 40 scholarships, but we had some of our former campers work camp. So it's turning into more of a funnel system as well, to where once you leave the program, you're still a part of the program, and now you can actually be paid to come and coach. So it's actually been a lot of fun, because now you're showing kids you can put in some time, make relationships, and then you get a job from it, in a sense.
Yeah, making a difference every day, one step at a time. That is what Rapheal Davis is doing, and you can catch his work also on the btn.com. But if you want to be support Crew Life Foundation, you can do that as well. That's an extremely important thing going on in Fort Wayne and beyond. So Ray, thanks so much, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. We'll look forward to your work tonight and throughout the Big Ten basketball season. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that. I want to thank Triple X and State Farm agent Trent Johnson too for their support, Gordon Jackson and the folks back at WLFI too for helping us get this show together. We'll look forward to the big game tomorrow night. Purdue got a chance, Ray, tomorrow night? Football?
I'm gonna give them a chance, fighter's chance. You gotta give them.
They're in the arena. That's the most important thing.
They breathe the same air, and they put their legs on one leg and their pants on one leg at a time.
All right, that's good. All right, sounds good. Hey, have a great week, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Gold and Black Live.